July 19, 2009.
And I think the wheel caught Henry Surtees.
At first, it looked like a routine crash, but the worst part came seconds later. The engine kept rising in pitch, louder and louder. Sadly, it was only the beginning. What came next changed Formula One. The boy behind the wheel wasn't just another driver. He was the son of the man standing right behind him. Recognize him? It's John Surtees, a British motorsport legend. He's the only person in history to have won world championships in both MotoGP and Formula One. So when John's son, Henry, was born, everyone immediately understood what would happen next.
Henry came here, my late son, about 7.5 years of age. And he came back and said, "Daddy, that's what I want to do."
Henry first got behind the wheel at just 8, and from that day on, John Surtees was always there.
During that time, he was just totally devoted to fatherhood. He sort of approached fatherhood like every other aspect of his life, with just total focus.
But Henry wasn't just another rich kid with a famous name. From the start, it was clear he had something special. Surtees dominated in karting, stepped up to Formula BMW, and took a victory there too. The real breakthrough came in Formula Renault's Winter Series. 1 win, 3 podiums, and 2nd overall. Naturally, the next step was Formula 2, and in 2009, it became a reality. Things didn't start well, but Henry felt he was improving.
Yeah, no, I'm quick here. The car felt really good, apart from the race yesterday where the accident damage had only just been repaired. So, you know, overall, we've got all the makings of being fast, but we've got to get it together really and fast. So.
Most importantly, his home race at Brands Hatch was coming up.
I hope Brands goes well, and I think it will go well. You know, it's my home circuit. I only live 30 minutes away, so you know. It should be a good weekend.
And he was right to believe. Surtees qualified 3rd and took his first F2 podium. Henry had come 3rd, just 1.5 seconds behind the winner. I thought to myself, Henry's arrived. He's got what it takes. Brands Hatch could be his moment. It was a real step forward for Surtees. But in F2, weekends have 2 races, so he had another chance to shine. However, this time, Henry only qualified 8th. To match his podium, he'd have to work even harder. But the opportunity was there, so everything was set for him to make his mark again. On July 19, Henry Surtees lined up on the grid, hoping for a strong result. But in the opening laps, he spun and lost positions. A few laps later, a crash brought out the safety car. Because of this, Surtees found himself deep in traffic. As the race resumed on lap 9, no one expected what came next.
Oh, and a huge half-dash Jack Clark. Well, he's gone on the wheel, took right across the nose of Henry Surtees' car.
Henry simply found himself in the wrong place at the wrong time. So what really happened? Ahead of him, Jack Clark lost control and hit the barriers.
24 Tom Gladys. Oh, and a huge half-dash Jack Clark.
At first, it looked like a routine crash, but one of Clark's rear wheels broke off and bounced back into the track. It weighed 30 kilograms and flew at 161 kilometers an hour straight into Henry's head. Marshals and medics immediately rushed to him. He was quickly pulled out of the car and taken to the medical center. From there, he was flown by helicopter to the Royal London Hospital. Doctors tried everything, but later that day, Henry Surtees was pronounced dead. He was just 18. Henry Surtees' death shocked the entire paddock. At the next race in Donington Park, a minute of silence was held in his honor. His car stood on pole position, a final tribute. But Henry's death wasn't just a tragedy. It was something that should have never happened. Why did a wheel kill a driver in the 21st century? Why was it even possible? These questions sparked an investigation, and the findings were alarming. In crashes, wheels detached far too easily. In response, the FIA introduced stricter rules. From 2011, all cars had to use reinforced wheel tethers, but no one felt the loss more than John Surtees.
Charity that is being supported. In Henry's name, and everybody.
He clearly understood that the main cause was traumatic brain injury, and he wanted to act. So, as a first step, Surtees established a foundation in honor of Henry. In it, John focused on supporting people with brain injuries or physical injuries. But for him, that wasn't enough. Surtees set out to raise safety standards in motorsport, especially for head protection. And just as his efforts were starting to gain momentum, something even worse happened. These were just routine tests for the Marussia team. Nothing dangerous, but just as the car began to slow, it unexpectedly jolted forward. The impact was brutal, a fractured skull, facial injuries. The driver was María de Villota. She survived and lost her right eye, but the accident never truly let her go. A year later, María was found dead in her hotel room.
The Formula One reserve racing driver María de Villota has been found dead in a hotel room in Spain.
The cause was neurological complications that arose during the accident. However, Marussia's tragedy didn't stop there. In 2014, during the Japanese Grand Prix, a car flew off the track. This caused yellow flags to be raised and an evacuation crane to be called. But one car wasn't enough. Jules Bianchi was behind the wheel of the Marussia. He suffered severe head injuries. He was rushed to the hospital where he fell into a coma and never woke up again.
French Formula One driver Jules Bianchi has died of injuries suffered during last year's Japanese Grand Prix.
Jules was Charles Leclerc's godfather, and sadly for Charles, this was not the only loss. If you want to know more, I made a video about his friend. For Surtees, these three accidents pointed to one terrifying pattern: traumatic brain injury, something flying, something stationary, and no protection. That's when John started pushing the FIA hard. He demanded that protecting the driver's head be made a priority. From those efforts came the idea of frontal cockpit protection. It would later become what we know now as Halo, a titanium structure strong enough to hold the weight of a bus. It was set to debut in 2018, but as soon as it was unveiled, the backlash began. Even Lewis Hamilton called it the worst-looking addition in Formula One history. But it didn't take long to prove its worth. In 2021, Hamilton saw it with his own eyes.
Once again, it's wheel to wheel. Hamilton and Verstappen, and this time Verstappen!
Verstappen's rear wheel landed directly on his halo, and without it, the result could have been fatal. And that wasn't the only case. Romain Grosjean,
Already, and that is that damage for Lando Norris. That's certainly damage, and a big fire there.
Zhao Guanyu,
Oh, we got several. Car over, upside down. Haven't seen who it is yet.
both walked away from horrific crashes. But perhaps the most painful realization came after simulations showed that if Henry's car had been equipped with a halo, he would have survived. And if you think that's where the story ends, you're wrong, because what came next went beyond Formula One itself.
Henry was at school, a school called Worth, and we had the service for Henry at Worth Abbey. And we asked for there to be no flowers, but donations to Headway.
The Surtees family raised £34,000 for Headway, and that was just the beginning of something greater.
I think initially the Henry Surtees Foundation was very much a way for my dad to sort of continue working with my brother to really provide assistance for people that have had any sort of brain or physical injury.
Through the foundation, John helped fund equipment for air ambulances across the UK.
We've worked now with a total of 9 different air ambulances, which pretty much covers the whole of the UK, providing them with equipment for blood transfusion machines so that they can take the blood transfusion and make that happen at the site of the accident.
The foundation raised nearly £2.3 million. funding not just medical aid, but opportunity. John created the Henry Surtees Karting Challenge, part memorial, part launchpad. It was a way to open doors for kids like Henry.
It would be ideal if we can put a learning and training centre at Buckmore Park sometime, where we can get youngsters onto perhaps a career path.
This wasn't about creating champions. It was about giving young people something Henry himself had found early on. Sadly, John Surtees passed away in 2017. He was laid to rest beside his son. But John wasn't the only one who changed Formula One through heartbreak. There was another crash, one that didn't just reshape safety. Click here to watch the rest of the story.